Hey guys, Dave Whichard, President FFL Velocity. Welcome to Weekend Warrior Podcast, and I'm in the Charlotte office in the podcast center here, and early morning, and I've got a couple special guests. Obviously, my man Mike Curry, who's been on several of our podcasts, just hit Hall of Fame, and say hi, Mike.
How's it going, everybody? Thanks for having me, Dave.
Yeah, man. But of course, one of the things that we do is we also recruit, and so Mike's building a team, VP, right, and
Right.
growing has logo, stuff like that. But he has a young man that I'll let him tell him who it is. But Joseph Whipple, who has just gotten started with us. Joseph, welcome, man.
Hey, everybody.
And Joseph, how old are you?
21.
Nice. So, Joseph, tell us a little bit about how you came into the business, just and a little bit about yourself, your background, where you grew up, just anything you want to tell us about your family, that
Okay.
kind of thing.
Yes, sir. Yeah, so I actually saw on social media, TikTok and Facebook, I saw several ads. I went online, Googled FFL, filled out the questionnaire at the bottom of the FFL website, do you want to work with us? And pretty soon, I think it was within the same day, I got called by Mike. And funny story, he actually called me the first time, looked down at my phone, didn't recognize the number, declined it. So immediately called me again, declined it again, called me again. I was like, all right, this guy really wants to talk to me. So it's like it's either somebody who wants to get money from me or it's important. So I answered on the third call, and it was Mike, and he was like, hey, man, he was like, Colin, I saw your thing that you filled out and everything. I was like, oh, yeah, yeah. And ended up signing me up right there for class, and the rest is history. But I actually, before this, he called me, I was at work. I was a welder before this. So no sales experience, nothing, never done anything like this before. Just straight blue collar working in the welding industry. So
Got it. So you're a welder. Now, are you from the Charlotte area? Is your family from here?
no,
Where's your family?
I was actually born in Arkansas, moved here when I was 6, lived in Fayetteville for about 15, 16 years, and I actually just moved to Charlotte 2 weeks ago. So
Wow. So you were in Fayetteville when you found us. And is your family still there?
yes, there still are.
Okay. Do you have like siblings
Yep.
and things like that?
I'm the oldest of 5, so I have 3 sisters and a younger brother.
Got
Yes,
it.
sir.
Cool. How's it?
It's it's a little difficult sometimes, but I manage. So
Right. So what, like, when you were in high school, I'm assuming, right? Did you go to college at all?
no, never
Okay.
went to college. I went to trade school. That's it.
Got it. So became a welder. That's a good trade to have. So what made you decide that, hey, I want to look and change? Was it the money?
Yeah.
What was it?
Yeah, so I started off investing in cryptocurrency and trading stocks and options, stuff like that. So really, I was just looking for some extra money to invest, and I was like, hey, this is going to be a cool side gig. I can just stick it in to my trading and have a little extra income. So
Nice. Well, so Mike, tell us about when you first talked to Joseph? If there's anything you heard in his voice, or because sometimes we will talk to people, right? And then you called him 3 times. So you're probably, hey, the third call. But after when you talked to him, did you hear anything there that rang, or was it just like most people where it's like, hey, let's see what this kid does, and how did the process work? Did he go through the process quickly? What were some things maybe you said to help him get started, and then we'll kind of go from there.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, from the get go, he's was eager to get started and learn, and like so I think the biggest thing about Joseph is the entire time. So he got through class quick. North Carolina can be a challenge sometimes with the licensing, but he got through class quick. But the thing was, like, he was already like sending me people to talk to. Like, he was on all the calls. I mean, he was listening to podcasts. Like, I call him. I told him, like, I feel like I hired myself again, because he was on all the podcasts and stuff, like, while he's in class. So he was really like plugging in and learning and growing, and he would drive. I mean, you early on, like, you came here to be close to the office and get plugged in, but like, he would drive 3 hours to the office and be here by 8 a.m. in the morning before you ever even dialed. And there was a trip I made out to Phoenix a couple months back, and he'd reached out and he was like, hey, I know you're gonna be out there. Can I dial for you? Like, actually reached out and asked to do that, and I'm like, well, yeah, sure. sent him over some leads, and he booked me 7 appointments. So like he's somebody that reached out and he took initiative. Like you didn't ever have to like coach him or like remind him to do things, right? Like I mean, he wanted to dial. He wanted to be on the calls. Like he was talking to people. He's very eager and he's a go-getter. So I don't know that there was anything per se on the phone, but just from the time that we put him in class, he's just killed it in everything he's done. He's put 110% everywhere.
So he's teachable, he's coachable, things like that, right?
100%.
So going to you, Joseph, is that something that comes from your background?
Yes, sir. That's mainly thanks to my dad and my mom. They're super hard workers, and my dad, I've been working with him ever since I was 8 years old. So he has a landscaping business. I worked him every summer after school. So he always taught me to work really hard for what I had, and that's just something that kind of carried over into everything else that I do.
Right. Your parents have faith? I was just curious.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, they raised me in church, and they still go to church and everything. So
Yeah, I can tell. Little discernment there. It was funny because I had a guy in here, Melvin. You may remember him. He's the same age as you, 21, 22 years old. But he actually owns another like business and stuff. But talking to him, there's that same trait where his mom owned this business back where he's from. He's from Nicaragua or somewhere. I can't remember exactly where he's from. I don't want to mess that up, Melvin. I love you. But anyway, he was talking about that, like just seeing that work ethic. His mom owned a business. That's why, and he also came over. So he came over here. I don't know if you heard his story. You should listen to it. It's cool. So he came over here, went to college, got a degree, was in the military, owns his own business, came over here at like 16.
wow.
So a lot like you. And then who else was us? It might have been, I don't know, somebody else. But again, I think what I'm trying to get at is I was listening to Sean's podcast. I was listening to something he said today in the gym. I'm always listening to Sean and learning. But he said, and you may have heard this before, but Pastor Matthew said something about we're either going to pass faith or fear to our kids. That's pretty powerful. So you have faith, and I love that. And what I mean, whether it's faith and whether you believe, I'm not trying to preach to you, but I'm just saying he has the faith that, hey, if I work hard, this can happen. Probably didn't have a lot of questions, right? Like he has questions, but so let me ask this, Mike. So in dealing with a guy like Joseph, how does that feel when he asks you a question and he's applying, right? He's actually going to do it versus someone that overthinks stuff, because he's not overthinking it, right?
No, not at all. Yeah, so somebody like Joseph, it attracts you to want to work with them, right? Because it's like the guy listens and he applies it and he's successful, and it's like then you start to build that relationship where, like, if somebody's coachable, man, that the opportunity here is endless. And I think a lot of people just can't get out of their own way. It's like everyone says they're coachable, but very few people are really truly coachable. And at the end of the day, and it's the same mindset I came in here with. I'm like, I don't know anything about any of this. That's what he's done since day one.
Yeah, and that's what I love about Mike. He's teachable and coachable. And he's not on our team. He's FFL, but I mean, he's in our office here, and I don't treat anybody any different. What are some things that you found, Joseph? There's folks watching this, or maybe in their 20s, and they're kind of thinking, hey, maybe I want to do this, maybe I don't. But what are some things you've learned about the insurance business so far that you didn't know? And could you imagine, like, not that you would knock on the door, because you probably would, but could you imagine actually just cold calling, like that's all you did, like versus having leads? What has that experience been like for you?
Yeah, so coming into this, I had no clue anything about life insurance. I knew what it was. I knew it paid out if you died, and that's why people got it. But like I didn't know term, whole life. I didn't understand any of that. And just learning that from actually doing it in person, it's crazy. The different policies, all the different little things you can learn about it. It's crazy. But like I said, I came into this not knowing anything. And now just thinking, if I had gone into any other insurance company that's out there, like you said, without leads, door knocking sales, anything like that, I can't even imagine doing that. Like, it's hard enough work as it is, like coming in here and dialing for 12 hours sometimes. I mean, and that's not super terrible. Like, it's not physical work, but I can't imagine having to create my own leads, going out, door knocking, just consistently trying to generate business off of cold leads.
Yeah. And like I said, you can go and do that. I mean, I think I do it. I mean, I'll hold it up and, whatever. What are some things, so talk about getting on the phone? 'Cause you never did that, right?
No.
Like, so how's that been for you?
So it definitely was a learning curve. On my first dial day, I didn't realize that I wasn't supposed to print out every single lead that I was calling. Mike sent me like 250 leads. I went to the office in Raleigh, printed out all 250 on their printer, and used up like 2 of their packs of paper. So they were like, "Yeah, you're not supposed to do that." But I started calling. I got hung up a bunch. I got cussed out. I got yelled at. But I was like, you know what? There's all these people that are having success, and all these people. I just kept listening to the podcast, the people that were doing it, listening to phone trainings and home trainings. And that's really, once you listen to it so much, it gets ingrained in your head. So then when people come up with objections on the phone, you automatically just spit out that rebuttal that you've heard so many times on a podcast, or called Mike, got advice from him, heard him tell me what to say. And then it starts getting easier. Once you just flow and you're just talking to the person, not just sound like you're reading a script. Because once you actually sound like you're having a conversation, people will listen to you.
Right. Now, are you learning like on Zoom dials, listening, being here in the office, things like that? And how many are you listening to a lot of podcasts?
Yeah, I listen to podcasts, I mean, 24/7. If I'm driving to appointments, if like I did a travel trip last weekend to work at the beach. I drove 3.5 hours, and the whole time there, I was listening to Andrew and Zach's new series
Yeah.
they're putting out on leads. Listening to that, how to work mortgage protection, how to work final expense, YouTube leads, all that stuff. Listen to those when I'm sitting at home. I mean, and I'm rarely sitting at home, but
Right.
I'm usually always listening to podcasts or something like that.
That's cool, man. So I'm sure you have friends that you hung out with, you grew up with, and things like that, and also your family. What did your family like your dad? You know, he has a
Hmm.
business, but it was in a different world.
Right.
What did they say that when they did you have to overcome anything there? Did they support you? And then I guess what I'm trying to get at, most 21-year-olds are not doing what you're doing, right? A lot
Yeah.
of them, the ones that are I think smart and understand that one day you're going to be older, and why not get it? You know, why not work hard now, right? Um, what keeps you disciplined from that standpoint? And I'm sure you have some people pulling at you. How do you deal with that?
Right. So my parents have always been super supportive of what I've done. A lot of my friends have as well. Now, there's always, like at work, when I told people what I was going to do, I worked at a small welding and fabrication shop, and several of the guys that work there like, oh, that's just a pyramid scheme. You're going to be back here in 3 months. Like, yeah, that's not going to work out. And I was like, all right, just watch me. And that's one of the things that actually motivated me when it got really tough, was remembering the guy that said I was going to be back there in 3 months. Just wanting to prove him wrong, because I've always been super competitive, and I always like to be right. So that's kind of the what kept me going through some of my hard times. And yeah, my parents have been super supportive. They understand what I'm doing. So
Awesome. So go back to you, Mike, for a second. Obviously, and just talking to Joseph, I can see why he's having success. And any advice, like from a recruiting standpoint, is there anything that you did that was special in the recruiting process, or any maybe some things that you told him up front, like, hey, what were some expectations that you set, if any?
Um, I feel like, and I've definitely gotten better even, since hiring him, and I've worked harder at this, but I think setting probably proper expectations. Like I don't want there to be any surprises. Like, I want him to know, okay, here's what a healthy investment in the leads looks like, because like if you don't invest the proper amount, then you're only setting yourself back. So, getting through class quickly, expectations on how long it really takes to get through class, and get licensed or get contracted after you pass the test, and how important it is to knock out the test as fast as possible, because then that process can start. I think just expectations on, like, here's how you get better. This is what we do to dial the phones. Buying leads is everything, and like just all the stuff that we do on a daily basis. I think that setting the groundwork so that there's no, like, well, I didn't know I was going to have to do this, or I didn't know I was going to have to buy that many leads, or I didn't know I was going to have to dial for 12 hours some days to get my appointments, and I didn't know I needed 15 appointments. I thought maybe, you know what I mean? So it's like everything that I do on a daily basis, like I do my best to teach and train, and it's like, this is what I have to do to be successful. So then you just turn around and you give that information. So
Yeah. Well, it's good. And this thing, it's when factory does it, it's like you push a button, you got to do this all yourself. So anyway, but yeah, so I'm enjoying this a lot as far as learning. And so all right, talk about this. So you'd never gone in the home. I mean, maybe you did some stuff with welding or whatever. How was that experience? With going in the home and like what did you do when you didn't know what to say or did you know what to say? Kind of what did that look like for you?
Yeah, so my first day, I didn't really get to go in the home. I had 19 appointments booked my first dial day. I went 0 for 9 my first field day. I had 8 no-shows. I sat in one home, wasn't able to get the man covered. But so the first experience of sitting in a home, I I guess it wasn't really as hard as I thought it would be because I'm imagining like people are gonna be like mean at the door or whatever. Super nice guy, let me right in. And now not everybody's like that, but most people are very friendly and they'll let you right in. They'll give you a bottle of water. I've even had people like cook steaks for me, and showed up for lunch and they just started handing me food and I was like okay. So I just started eating and talking while I was eating, and I mean the in home is not as scary as most people think. And if you don't know what to say, I mean, I've always been kind of good with kind of faking it till I make it. So you can kind of usually talk your way out of situations. But if it's like something important, as far as like if you don't know what to write or you don't know exactly what to tell this person based on their specific situation, you can always call your upline in the home. And I did that a lot as well. I'll call Mike and Brody still now,
Yeah.
just to make sure I'm doing the right thing if there's anything specific that's going on.
Yeah. So working with Brody as well, and I'm sure Mike's had this conversation with you, but and the fact that your dad owns a business, he's probably told you the same thing. But make sure keep that separate. I think
Yes.
that's a thing is we talked to. He's 21, right? Like some people don't know that, right? But we have to do that as a thing is to make sure. Look, hey, if you probably shouldn't spend it all, like
Right.
because we'll have chargebacks. It's a real thing. So that's awesome, dude. So Mike, as we kind of wrap this thing up, any other things that you'd like to kind of close with, and then we'll come back at Joseph real quick.
Yeah, no, again, I think that, if you're new out there, Joseph's successful, obviously, because he plugs in, but like he's coachable, right? Like you booked 19, you booked 19 appointments, but you spent how much in leads?
Like $1,000.
Right, $1,000. Bought 100 internet leads, right? That's internet leads. Booked 19 appointments. It's first dial day, and you started dialing at 8,
Yep.
right? And then what time were you done?
Probably 8 or 9.
Right. So
So, and I didn't ask this question about the first day went that way, but how did the second and third day go?
yeah, I mean, but he continued to buy leads. You know exactly how did your next 2 weeks, because there's been so many.
How was that, Joseph? Because
Yeah.
I think that's important.
Yes, so I called Mike that night after
A little
I went
frustrated,
0
like,
for
hey,
9.
right, yeah.
I was a little bit, but also from listening to all the podcasts, I remember hearing the field owes me, the field owes me,
Yeah.
the field owes me. So I really wasn't that upset. I was like, okay, so if it's just numbers, that means the
Yeah.
next day is going to be really big for me. I just kind of figured that's how it would be, and that's how it ended up being. So
Nice.
it really works. Like I didn't really believe it at first, but from hearing it on the podcast, like the field owes you, the field owes you. And I think that's a big thing as well is the mindset, because if you don't have your mind right, this business can really beat you up when you're going through hard times, and then you can stop working, stop putting in the effort, and then you're really not going to win. So as
Yeah.
long as you keep the activity and you keep your mindset right, you're going to win.
And you've been here, what, 6 weeks, you said?
Yes, sir.
Wow. So you can tell by listening to him, he's listened to a lot of podcasts. He has a positive mental attitude, things like that, but you can just hear it in his voice. It's like 6 weeks. And so when I started in this business, I was a little older than you, not much older than you, but that's the thing. It took that work ethic, and it's just the attitude and activity. If you just keep grinding, it's going to work. It just will. So I was listening to Easton earlier, and I think and, be in probably integrity one day and soon, and he was growing his business. I mean, that's where you can end up. That's pretty cool, right? Yeah, Mike, how do they get a hold of you, Mike? And any last comments and things like that as we close up?
Yeah, no, absolutely. 704-572-5096. You can call, text, follow us on Instagram, FFL Valiant. And, yeah,
Cool.
love to work with anybody.
Don't you see Hall of Fame in Joseph's future? I do.
100%.
Yeah. Is that a goal?
Yes, sir. The goal this year is Hall of Fame, VP, and integrity in 2 or 3 years.
Nice, man. How they get a hold of you, Joseph? They want to work with you. You're here in the Charlotte area, but wherever.
Yes, sir. I work with anybody, anywhere. My phone number is 910-964-4054, and my Instagram is J_Whip21.
Nice. All right, guys, as we close this up, there's a lot learned here. I mean, he came from social media. So if you're not on social media, you're not at 5,000, you don't have a lot of friends on Facebook, make sure you're connecting with people. You're doing your Instagrams, your TikTok, because this is proof that people are watching. So, and here he is. He's 21 years old. These are guys that can help you. We're in the Charlotte, but at the same time, we're all over the place. So thanks so much for being on today. I know this is going to make a difference. It's a great podcast. I mean, I just enjoyed the company because, I mean, this is good stuff. So we might should do this again. Actually, we'll hang up and do it all over again. No, but thank you so much for being on. Thank you for everything you guys do every single day. Keep serving, keep growing. 1 billion's coming for Family First Life this year. Convention's coming up. I know you're going to be there. Convention, yes, right? Make sure you register for convention. And please subscribe to Family First Life on YouTube if you're not already on there. Thanks so much for being on.